Salvia. I'll give you some background on salvia. It is a plant hallucinogen that's one of the few hallucinogens that's legal in our country and a lot of other countries. And it's really potent when made into an extract, one of the more potent hallucinogens there is, which is surprising that it's legal. There's some hilarious and not hilarious videos of people joking about how they're going to start smoking and start driving. One guy has a video called Gardening on Salvia, and he takes a hit and he goes to garden and he's just whacked out. So I'm going to tell you my only time I actually tripped on salvia, because when I was in high school, when I was in 9th grade, I tried this salvia that I bought at our town, and it really didn't work at all. And I remember going to basketball practice even after I smoked it, and it almost felt like a light weed. It didn't really feel like anything crazy. So the time that I actually had a real salvia trip, it's really stupid how I did it, but I went to Spokane with my mom and sister. This was when I was in high school, and I had convinced my mother that I'm already gonna smoke weed. I smoke weed every day, but it would be better for me if I had a vaporizer. So we were gonna go buy a vaporizer, or I was gonna buy one. So after they did what they needed to do at Spokane in the mall, we went to buy a vaporizer at this smoke shop called Peace of Mind. And my sister and my mom went to some store across the road, and I went into the smoke shop. Now the smoke shop isn't like you just walk in. It's in a basement, and it's kind of hard to explain. You first go into this room. It's like a strip mall. You open the door, and then there's a room that has nothing. It's just an upstairs, and then there's a stairway going downstairs that leads to some other stores, and then you open the door, and you're at the other store. So I walked into the room that was upstairs, went down the stairs, went in there, and I bought my vaporizer, but then I seen salvia, and I couldn't help myself, so I bought salvia, a pipe, and a lighter. So then I did the stupidest thing ever. I had to go back to my mom, but I decided, oh, I'm just going to smoke salvia right now in front of the store. No big deal. So I went out the store, went up the stairs, so now I'm in this little room. The room can see out to the street. It's like the walls are made out of glass, like it's all glass door, glass walls and shit. And you can see the street and everything. So I stood up against the wall looking at the street and just lit it up. Just I blew it out. And then within 2 seconds I start feeling it. And this is what I'm trying to explain what it feels like. It just feels like there's like a parade coming or something. That feeling of here comes something. Like I heard this like and it just kept building and building and coming at me, and I could almost feel like these weird globbly creatures holding weird trumpets and coming towards me. And I was sitting there, I was like, something's coming. And then suddenly my vision went into these weird like wavy, like everything kind of started like sinking down this river type visuals. And the craziest thing happened. I started losing kind of a sense of who I was and where I was. And I started, after the parade finally felt like it was coming, like, I felt like I was in Disneyland parade world creepiness. And what happened was suddenly this happened. I'm standing there just like, fuck me, because it didn't feel good, it felt weird. And then it feels like suddenly this giant meat hook in a factory that's coming down the wall just picked me up and goes, and I start getting pulled by it. So it's really just me falling back, but my body's saying, you're getting pulled by a meat hook. So I'm getting pulled by this meat hook, and suddenly I become just a big thing of meat in a meat factory that has a parade going through it in Disneyland Weird World, and I start getting pulled towards the wall. And the craziest thing happens is I'm expecting to go through the wall and into this dark factory. So my body's like, my legs come up into the meat, everything comes up, and I'm like, okay, I'm meat now, here I go. And as I'm leaning back, I hit the wall, just boom, with the back of my head, I started going, meat, I'm meat. And when I hit the wall for a split second, I felt like I could see back into this weird dark underworld. Have you ever played a video game and you get a weird glitch and you get under the ground or outside of it and everything's kind of just like navy blue abyss? Like, I got, and right when I hit the wall, it just cracked open, it ripped open, and I'm looking back, and I just remember thinking, like, why didn't I get to go in there? It was like this neon meat, glitchy Disneyland underworld, and I was just like, that seems pretty fun in there. So after standing back up, I realized, oh wow, I'm me. Like, I'm not a piece of meat. There's no parades. So I was sitting there just like, this is bad. And like, after I felt like I had just been ripped apart into meat pieces through a Disneyland wall, I just fucking threw the pipe on the ground and was like, fuck you, salvia, threw the salvia, threw the lighter, I was like, I'm going, and then I just carried my vaporizer across the street. So as I walk out, I'm just like, feeling like I'm like a rabbit that's in the middle of like a field of hungry dogs. I was like, cars, everything's coming. And I was just walking, trying to like, I felt like I was part of the parade. I was walking like that shit. So I finally like crossed the road to get to the other store that they're at and like put the vaporizer in the car, and I just remember feeling like, this fucking sucks, I feel shitty, and I took this little vial of kratom I had in my pocket and just, and within 5 minutes that made me feel better. But I went into the store and I swear it was like, where's Waldo? I was trying to find my mom, and like I felt like I was just like a lost puppy or some shit. But then when it finally wore off, everything was good. The kratom started hitting me, I felt fine. It went away in like 10 minutes. But the feeling of the come up just felt like this distant point off in the distance in my brain. It wasn't even like I could locate where it was coming from. It was the feeling. It felt like this parade was just and it was building on me, and it was crazy. It just attacked me basically. And then the parade basically just took me away. Like after it hit me, suddenly I was just hit the wall. I totally had this weird feeling like I was about to rip into another dimension through that wall. And I never did, but I met someone named Liam Neeson. Just kidding, that part's not true. But yeah, that was my salvia trip. I've heard of and read about crazier salvia trips. I hate the feeling of salvia. I don't like salvia at all. I've never really had a trip except for that. The visuals were pretty intense, I guess. They were like really fluid. The visuals looked fine, but how you feel feels annoying. Like I felt like a crumpled up piece of paper about to catch on fire. Like it just felt gross and it's more about how I felt in the trip than the visuals, because the visuals were intense, except for 1 second, I swear, as I was getting pulled back towards that wall, I could just see like I was about to meet a group of people, or like a machine, or like a fairy, or something was about to meet me on the other side of that wall, and I could see it back kind of through the wall. I was like, here I go, like I was about to just bloop into this other world and go off, who knows where. Maybe if I smoked more, I would have some crazy out-of-body experience, but for a second, I really was like hanging there, a piece of meat about to go through a wall. So that's all I could really say about Salvia. It was a great time. Not a great time, but it is a great story to tell, a great memory. Anyways, happy tripping.
Worst cold symptoms. Let's end this.
You gotta go to Burlington.
Yeah.